Hello, this is Anita with Ashley Shaw, and today we're going to create an opt-in form. So we're going to start just from our funnel editing page. So I've gone into funnels, I've chosen my funnel, and chosen the page I'm going to edit. I'll just click the edit button. And in this, I have some forms. Well, I have one form, but I have different buttons that lead to it. So we're going to just choose this button, the I want in, and you'll see it opens the button menu over on the right. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can see that we can change the text options of what's showing. So if we only want one exclamation point, you can see that that changes on the button itself. Down below, it says it will open a pop-up if we click on it. So if we have, I'm just going to right-click my tab and duplicate, just because I want to be able to go back. So in that page, if we were just viewing the page, and we scroll down, we see I want in, click on it, it opens this pop-up. But let's say that this is not quite what we want. So in our editing tab, this button activates a pop-up. So we're going to go up to the upper left to the icon that looks sort of like a browser window. That's our pop-up settings. I'm going to click that, and this shows us our form. You'll see here on the right, it's changed to the form menu. This is where we would be able to choose a different form if we have more than one. We just have the live challenge registration options. It's just the same form. We can click edit form to go to the editing menu. And this will let us make some basic changes. So we can click where it says first name, and we could say change the label or the little placeholder that appears in the gray text here. We could hide that field if we wanted to, or we could make it required. And over here, again, we can change the label. So we'll say instead of email, we want email address. And we'll leave email as the placeholder. We want it required because this is how we're going to get leads. This is how we're going to add contacts to our Monetize account. But say we wanted to make other changes. We could change the color of the button. We could change the text on the button. We could add subtext. We could make changes to that. We'll just delete it for now, though. It looks a little odd. We could change the color. If we wanted a blue button instead, we could change the size. We could add some shadow. There are all kinds of different changes we could make here. We could change the color. So just choosing some dramatic differences so you can see where these changes take place. We could also add other fields from this screen. We could drag over, add a last name from that form element listing over on the left. We want it below the first name. We're not going to make that field required. We could do that just with this little button here on the right. Let's say we also want to add a phone number. We'll click on phone. We will not make that required. We will enable a country picker. This just adds a quick way to add the country code. Let's say we also want to make sure everyone's over 18. We could add a date of birth field and make that required. We can change the date format. We have 3 options. You could have month first, day first, or year first. I'm a fan of year first. So we could make all of those changes to this particular form. We're going to change the name. And instead of just live challenge registration, we'll call this quick edit, just so we can tell the difference when we go back to our main page, to our funnel page. We'll know which one I've made some changes to. So there we go. We've saved it. We're not going to have this integrated anywhere, so we're just going to leave those settings alone. And we'll click back up in the upper left corner. Now this was just a pop-up, so it's not going to go anywhere, so we can just close that window. We'll close the pop-up in our funnel page. We're going to go down. We'll just click this button. We'll scroll down to open pop-up. That does what we want it to do. We're going to come up to our pop-up settings. This opens the form column over on the right. And we now have either the live challenge registration form or the one that I edited that adds in the last name, the phone number, and the date of birth. So that's one way that we can edit an existing form. But say we want something that's completely different and we don't want anything that we have listed already, and we're just going to create a form from scratch. So I'm not going to save anything that I've changed. I'm going to click the back button. Yes, I'm okay with not saving my changes. So we're back on the funnel page, the funnel editing page. To get here, over on the left side column, we click Sites, and then we would click Funnels to get to these, our funnel options. Or, to create a form, we'll go to the top menu, and if we hover over Forms, it will say Builder. So we're going to click Builder. So you can see the 2 forms that we already have. We're going to create a brand new one. So over on the top right, we're going to click the blue Add Form button. We're going to click Create from Scratch. You could choose a template if you'd like, but for this demo, we'll choose Creating from Scratch. And then click the Create button. We're going to name our form based on the funnel where we plan to use it. Live challenging use form will do. Take a look over here on the left side. And you'll see that some forms are automatically entered. For any contact in our contacts list, we're going to want some kind of a name. Usually a first name and a last name is preferable, but if you only need first names for this initial contact, that's fine too. You don't necessarily need a telephone number, although you will if you're planning on sending SMS messages. And an email address is required if you plan on sending them any kind of emails. So notifications about upcoming workshops, different products, things like that. So these four are a good place to start. Now we can remove some of these if we'd like. So we're going to say that we don't plan on sending any SMS messages. So we're just going to click in this phone area. So you could click email, we'll click phone, and then over at the right, we're just going to click this X button to delete it. So you can delete those pretty quickly. Or we could come over to the left side in our form elements, take phone, drag it over, and we'll say that we want to put it below the email address. We could do that. If we change our mind and we would like that to be in a different spot, we would like phone ahead of the email address, we could just grab email and drag it down. So you can move these elements as well. If you want to start with last name and then first name, it's just a matter of dragging the element where you'd like it to be. So we're going to customize this a bit more. We're going to add an image because we would like to have our logo here. Just scroll down until we see image. There are some text options. There we are, image. So we'll take image and we're going to drag it over and put it at the top. Here we're going to choose our file. I'm just going to use a generic image that I downloaded earlier. So now we have that as our image. We can choose the alignment, and we would like it centered. And the height, it really depends on how your logo looks when you've uploaded it. If you decide to upload a logo, you could use any image in that location, really. It doesn't have to be your logo specifically. It could be some kind of a promo image that you've made for this particular challenge. That would work as well. You would just need to upload it like I did with this lotus flower. Now, let's take a look at some of our other options. We could change the button, but we have a button already there. We should update this button though. We'll change this to say submit. That's a little impersonal. We'll say add me to the challenge. I'm excited to be here. Let's change that. I can't wait. We'll change the background of our button, make it a little closer to our Lotus image, although we could just change the hex codes. I'm not sure what that color is. I'm not sure why that isn't changing. I'm just clicking undo. Okay, let's try refresh. I may have had my browser open a bit too long. Alright, so we're going to change this. To our funnel name. We'll add our logo back in. We'll come down to the consent text. This type of text is ideal because it tells them how to stop SMS messages, warns them that data rates could apply, and it's essentially consent for receiving occasional marketing messages. In the button text, we'll change that back to add me to the challenge. We'll change the button text, or the button color. We'll make that the full width of our pop-up. I don't think we'll bother putting a button around it or making any of those style changes. For the text, we'll change the white to maybe I'll leave it white. I don't think anything else is going to show up terribly well. That seems awfully pale. We'll make it yellow for the contrast. We could change the font. I'm a Montserrat fan. We'll make it larger. So you can see there are quite a few different changes that you can make here. We'll change this to a bright blue. For our subtext. And we'll change that font, maybe not to Poppins. Maybe not Playfair. I do like Garamond. It doesn't necessarily go well with my Montserrat, but Nonito is fine. And we'll change that size. Now, your privacy policy and terms of service, you should really just leave those in. That's ideal for any kind of business dealings. So we'll come over here on the right, or sorry, on the left under our form elements, and we'll come down to customized, and we'll take the text element and we'll drag that to the top. And then we'll click in that space. We'll change that text to challenge application. We will change the font. We can change the font color. That clashes with my image, but we'll go with purple-ish. We can change the size, the weight. So there are different style options that you can change here to match your branding. We'll add a shadow. We won't make it terribly big. But that, if you wanted to sort of highlight where the title is, you could use the shadow. It isn't necessary. There are all sorts of different settings that you can change on this particular screen so that your text looks different and to match the branding that you've used elsewhere. All right, so we've made all of these different changes. So I think it's good for now. Let's just take a look. Let's go into styles and options. So here is where we're going to choose what happens. And we could choose to make our form an entirely different format. Single column was fine, but I think I like the 2-column better, so I'm going to leave it as 2-column. Input style, I like the box better than the line, just because I think people look for boxes a little more often. The background color, we could change that. My form is going to clash terribly, but that's okay. It shows you where all of these colors are happening. The font color, I'll choose a yellow. Just trying to see where that change is happening. Put that font color into effect. But we could change the input background. We could make those fields a different color. Nothing is going to look good on that purple though. I suppose we could make them a darker purple. We could use a background image instead. We could add a header image. Again, I just have the 2 lotus flowers. But where I have the image inside already, I don't really think we need one above it. So we'll just delete that. We could have also used the undo button at the top to change that and remove the image again. Now, under miscellaneous, I don't have any branding set up. So these are different themes we could choose from. That kind of defeats the purpose of me creating my own. Now under options, this is where when someone clicks our submit button, so the add me to the challenge button, we could have a message happen, we could have them go to a different URL, we could give them an order confirmation message. We could change the message here if that's what we wanted it to do. make some changes to the style. This is where we can add our Facebook pixel ID, although adding pixels in different locations. You can use pixel events. Generally speaking, you don't want your pixel events happening on the form. You want it to happen on the after they've clicked submit, so that would be on your thank you page. So here we're going to leave that at nothing and not have that set up. So what we would like to do though, we're going to change the on submit because we don't want to just give them a little message. We are going to want them to go to a different URL. So we're going to change that to open URL. Now we need to get the URL. So I have two tabs open for my Monetize account, for my funnel. So I want them to go to my upsell page next. So I'm going to come here. I would normally just click to get my funnel URL. You would see that here because you'll have one. I don't have a domain set up in my demo account, so I don't have a domain to choose. But each page of your funnel will have a different name or a different domain that you would copy and use. And this is where you'd find that. So yes, because I don't have a domain added to my demo account, I can't make changes to that field, but you can. So if you want to rename the URL, this is where you can do that. This isn't going to work exactly right because I don't have an actual domain attached, but the sales page, upsell page, and order bump is where I want them to go after they've signed up for the challenge. So I'm going to click on that page. Over on the right, I'm going to click Publishing, and this will give me my URL as well. So it's not really going to work for the purposes of our form, but I'm going to come back to our Form tab, and since I want it to open the next URL, this is where I would put that. So you'll see that it shouldn't let me save it. Oh, it did. Well, it let me save the form. This step isn't going to work because there's no actual URL there, but that's where you would add it to go to your next funnel page. So now we're going to go back to our funnel, and we're just going to refresh the browser to reload information. So that way the form that we just created should appear in our drop-down menu. We're going to go back to our first page. Since that's where the form is going to appear, we'll click Edit. There's our very, very clashy form. The initial submit one that we have on this page. We're going to click I want in. Come down, we want that to open up our pop-up. We're going to come up to the upper left corner, the browser looking icon. This opens our pop-up menu over on the right. And we're just going to scroll down. All right, so we're going to click our button. And then in the upper left, we'll click the icon that looks like a browser, our pop-up settings. And then you'll see it says form, general, there's the element name. Now, currently we have the live challenge registration quick edit that I made earlier that was terribly colored. We're going to change that. We're going to choose Anita's new form. And that will change it to the one with the lotus that doesn't clash quite as much. Now, we could edit the form a bit more from here if we wanted to, but we don't. We like it the way it is. Now, we'll save it after making that change. All right, so we're going to choose Anita's new form. And then we're going to click Edit Form. All right, so this starts us with the very clashy form that I made earlier. So from our funnel page, we're going to click the I Want In button. The button actions, that is going to open a pop-up. That's what we want it to do. Over on the upper right, we're going to click the icon that looks like a browser window for the pop-up settings. And in pop-up settings, over on the right, it indicates that we're in the form menu. Just above edit form, we're going to change that and we're going to choose Anita's new form. Should be the one with the lotus. There we go. And our redirect action for this button is going to go to the next step of our form. And we're going to click Save. And then Publish. If I was actually doing a live page, I would click Publish. Oh, we'll just close that out. And that is how you create and change forms in your funnels. Actually, let's close that. I'm just going to back out of this. I'll go back to my funnel. I think it was challenge front end that we were editing. Come down to edit. Ideally, I really should change this as well. So we'll change that to Anita's new form. It doesn't fit as well space-wise, but it isn't quite as clashing. Get me into the challenge. We'll scroll down. Make sure that's opening a pop-up. We'll go over to the upper left corner, pop-up settings, and just make sure that that's the right one. I want in. Okay, so let's click our pop-up. Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I had changed them. when you have your pop-up open, if you click the settings for that, you can also change the form from there. So we could go back to the plain registration form. We could go to the terribly clashy one. Or we could go to the one with the lotus flower. So that's another place where you can determine which form you'd like to use once you actually have the form created. And this is where as well you can use the action from the form builder. So we had it going to a specific URL. We could set a website URL here as well if we want them to go to a different place, or just go to next step in our funnel. We're just going to save those changes. Now, there we are. You'll see that the SEO metadata window has opened because we've saved. So here is where we can make some changes as well. So in this sidebar off to the left, under content, we can change the name so it actually matches what we have happening. We'll say a marathon challenge that we're running. We're just going to ignore what we actually have for content on the page for this because I haven't changed this form content at all. And this will give us some guidance as well. So the page has a title, it's under 70 characters. The title and the domain name are unique. We're going to update the description to something that is under 155 characters and a unique description. We'll put the price in there just because that's a good bit of information that could be quite important. We can change the keywords. We can add our author name. We can change the social image. So this would be the image that appears in a social post, the guidance to your funnel. So your funnel URL, when you're using that in a social post, you want something to appear on the page. We'll choose the colorful one. Why not? So we'll just copy that link. I could upload my pictures of my lotus flowers here. Actually, let's do that. Just so you can see how that process works. We'll come over here. We'll get the link. We can change our links and tags. I don't really have anything to change there. My language is going to be English, and I'm going to update my SEO metadata. I'm going to come back up to the upper right corner, click Save. And that is it. We can now hit publish if we want that to go live. I'm just going to click back though because I don't have a domain or anything set up for this demo account. But that is how you create and edit forms to use in your funnels. Hopefully that was helpful. If you do have any questions, please let us know. Our email address is ashley@ashleyshaw.ca. Thank you.